You will certainly be surprised when I say that this common eider duck is not tame at all. Tameness in animals is generally understood to mean that they allow themselves to be touched without fear of humans, that they sometimes even quite enjoy being pet. In the case of breeding eider ducks, it is usually the case that they duck deep into the hollow of their nest when danger approaches. They fully rely on their camouflage color. In the case of this particular eider duck, it's somewhat different. Despite the immediate danger I pose to the duck, it remains sitting on its clutch of eggs because it has a very strong breeding instinct. This makes it stay on the clutch of eggs, despite the fact that it might feel some fear. It is difficult to determine to what extent habituation to humans plays a role in this eider's behavior. I am bothering this duck here because I'd like to show you where eider ducks have the coveted down feathers. It's right here in the front, under the breast feathers. Between these are the eiderdowns, which the duck pulls out with its beak during preening procedures. They are very loose during the breeding season. She puts the downs around her eggs. I don't want to disturb the duck any further. The duck seems enormously familiar at first glance, but I'm pretty sure it's relatively scared right now.
Our eider duck lays an egg every day. Already after the first egg, the female stays firmly on the nest, which she first cushions with plucked grass. With her body she protects the clutch of eggs she has started, but she is not yet incubating properly. She probably doesn't yet give the first eggs the warmth necessary for development, so that the young hatch later at very short intervals. In other areas, the strikingly colored drakes leave the breeding duck so as not to betray the nest by their presence. Here in Iceland, where there are practically no ground enemies, the male eiders do not leave the side of the breeding female. Actually, they do not have an important function, because they do not take part in the breeding business. After 5 days, our duck's nest is complete. It's an average nest, because 3 to 7 eggs are the norm for eider ducks. Only now does the nest begin to be padded with down feathers, which grow under the stronger cover feathers on the belly, breast, and flanks. The duck gets through its plumage with its beak until some of the down feathers come loose. In the nest cavity, this interlocked feather fluff is excellent insulation against the cold of the ground. The duck turns the eggs and at the same time incorporates the freshly plucked feathers into the nest. She takes care of the precious nesting material. She keeps it dry and keeps gathering it up so that the wind does not blow too much of it away. The constant plucking of the down feathers causes the so-called brood patch, a bald spot to form on the belly of the female duck after only a short time in the nest. This is an expedient feature, because the duck can now warm the eggs directly with its bare abdominal skin, without an insulating layer of feathers. Eiderdown is a very special material. The secret of their high insulating effect lies in the special construction of the feathers. Unlike ordinary feathers, eiderdown doesn't actually have a quill. They simply consist of long coiled feather branches that radiate from one point. They can hook together to form a solid mass. The female eider ducks breed particularly firmly and persistently. In Iceland, they eat practically nothing during the entire breeding period, which is 24 to 27 days. Only now and then, especially on warm days, they do get thirsty. They leave their nest to drink, but never without covering it carefully with down first. This protects the eggs from cold wind, direct sunlight and, above all, from the eyes of the ever-hungry gulls. The typical duck walk. The comedy of this hurried walk never fails to amuse us. And of course her husband waddles along. After 28 days at the latest, the young eider ducks hatch from the large green eggs. Again and again we are amazed by the phenomenon of the newly hatched ducklings. At the very beginning they seem helpless and wet, but they're perfectly dry after only 2 hours under the belly feathers of their mother. They're cute little feather balls with open eyes. They rumble around in the nest, look out into the big world under the feathers of their mother, run a few steps and quickly retreat again under the protective belly feathers of the old duck. Not all young birds come into the world so fully developed. In altricial bird species, the young are naked, blind and helpless after hatching. Our duck family leaves the nest after a short time, because eider ducks are precocial. As soon as the last youngster is dry, the mother duck leads the flock of children to the water. The nestling is still weak on its feet, and walking is still difficult for it. The mother duck and her older siblings are in a terrible hurry. The nestling beeps piteously to make the mother wait. Finally it catches up and the family is complete again. In the large colony, many duck families are on their way to the water today. It is a peculiarity of eider ducks to join together in large families. Often you can see more than 30 ducklings in one flock, where the old females supervise together. Water is their element. The little ones romp about with astonishing naturalness, even though they are coming into contact with the wet element for the first time in their lives. The calm water of the freshwater ponds where the young ducklings stay for a few days provides a rich food supply suitable for the little beaks. Unlike altricial birds, ducklings don't need to be fed by their parents. From the first day on, they eat independently. They only need protection and guidance from their parents. Later, when the young ducks are bigger, they will dive for mussels in the sea, but for the time being they only put their heads under water to eat water fleas, crayfish and plants. Mother duck tramples with her feet in the muddy ground so that the young can reach the food swirled up in the process without diving. The mother duck occasionally lures her flock of children onto the land. Young eider ducks are good swimmers and well equipped for the water, but there is a danger that their feathers will get soaked if they stay in the cold water for too long. Hypothermia of the little bodies would be the result. The nursery is a hive of activity. The chicks of the individual families run around in confusion, but young ducklings are equally happy to be supervised by all mothers, whether their own or others. The ducklings are only happy when they can see their mother and have vocal contact with her. The young ones preen themselves with the same movements as the adults, but they seem much more clumsy while doing it.